What's up, YouTube? WildLion Games here, and we have a review for Axis Football 20. Be sure to like the video if you enjoy this review and subscribe if you want to see more content. So Axis Football 20 is out now on Steam and coming to PS4 and Xbox One very soon. Axis Football is a simulation indie football game from a very small development team, much like Maximum Football. I would call them, like a micro development team, very small. But it's a football game with a deep franchise mode, simulation style type gameplay with an arcade look, massive playbooks, loads of customization options, mods, coach mode, franchise mode. It has quite a bit to offer, but is it any good? Well, that's what we're here to find out. And just right before I get into it, just to be upfront with you guys, Axis Football 20 is my first Axis game I've played. I've never played any of the previous iterations. That's the same with Maximum Football. I had never played any before Maximum 20. But I decided this year that I would jump in on these games I keep reading about and hearing about and seeing gameplay of. And I figured if I was going to jump into one, I might as well try the other. So here we go. Let's take a look at Axis Football 20. The good. Franchise mode. So when it comes to franchise mode, football gamers have been deprived for over a decade now for something that's good. 2K Basketball touts the most in-depth franchise mode in sports gaming. NHL has had their great years, and I can't forget MVP Baseball 2005 with their incredibly depth owner mode and the Stadium Creator. That's such an awesome game. And going back even further, we actually did have a football game once called ESPN 2K5, arguably one of the best football games ever made, that had an awesome franchise mode that the fans love. So here we are in 2020. Axis Football is quietly building something special with franchise mode, and it offers just about everything you could be looking for. All your standard features are here, such as roster management, signing free agents, making trades, moving guys around your 53-man roster, and you actually even have a practice squad that can allow up to 15 players. You can move guys back and forth. So if your 53-man roster is full, anybody you sign off the free agency will go directly to your practice squad. Practice squad guys don't receive any special benefits from training or anything like that. It's just more to hang on to some good players that you like, that you want to have, maybe in case someone gets hurt. So while we're on the topic of roster management, let's go ahead and talk about scouting. We'll keep this in the good as well, and it's part of franchise mode. You have 4 scouts on your staff who you can hire, and we'll get to that later. But scouting covers different regions, and you can set up your scouts recruiting parameters for which position to look for, and you can actually even buy a scouting report for $2 million, which I highly recommend. It's totally worth it. Gives you a breakdown of position talent by region, and this is helpful so that when you're assigning positions for your scouts to look out for in their different regions, you can base that off of the grade of talent pool by position in each of those different regions for the scouts. So scouting is pretty basic. That each scout receives a point a week to be used on scouting a player, which only brings you closer to seeing their estimated overall until you fully scout them. You actually can't see any of their specific individual stats, or a 40 time or bench press, which I thought was pretty weird, and I think scouting could be cleaned up quite a bit. It's a little messy, but it is there, and you can actually find these players' overall stats for specific attributes underneath the team draft guide. So it's pretty fun. Staying on roster management still, we're going to move into the draft. So the draft is pretty much just like the NFL with your 7 rounds. You can adjust the speed at which picks are made, but if you don't want to watch, you can also just skip to your pick. But I actually really enjoyed drafting. I mean, it's simple, it's straightforward, but I think just the presentation is very similar to the broadcast that we all see on TV, and we even have the little ticker at the bottom. I'm disappointed the ticker doesn't update, but overall, I mean, the screen's pretty cool to look at, and it's really enjoyable to draft in this game. The most useful screen is definitely the team guide, which you can see which positions on your team you need, and it also has a potential draft replacement for that player. So this can help make quick decisions, especially in the later rounds when maybe you haven't done your homework or haven't done a whole lot of scouting and you're just trying to finish. You're also able to see your personal draft summary and league draft summary. Really cool stuff. The only thing I wish they would also add in here is a draft board where you can actually pin players to a draft board that you were looking for before the draft started. But other than that, drafting was pretty cool. Coach management is also an exciting addition to franchise mode. You can not only hire an offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, but position coaches and staff members as well. You can extend contracts, you can fire guys, hire new guys at each spot. Each coach and staff member has career info that's easily available to read, such as their wins, age, experience, playoff records, if they've won championships. You can also see their attributes in different areas like discipline, evaluation, development, motivation. It's really cool and very useful if you're deciding if you want to replace a coach or not, and picking and choosing what's important to you when building your staff. My personal favorite of franchise mode is the facilities tab under the front office. One of my favorite parts, or actually probably my favorite part of MVP Baseball 05 and some of the older NHL games, was the ability to upgrade your stadium and other facilities, especially in MVP, since you could physically see the improvements you made to your ballpark. In Access Football, we don't see those, but we still get to upgrade and purchase features like luxury boxes, restrooms, weight rooms, spas, pool room, buses, hotels, planes, you name it. You can purchase it, you can upgrade it, and every decision to upgrade or not has a financial impact on your budget, but also an emotional impact and performance impact on your team. So a bus that's in really good condition can positively affect team morale on like close road games, and good quality seats can increase ticket sales. So a nice practice field can reduce the amount of injuries. The list goes on. So there's a reason for each purchase and there's a reason for each upgrade. So now it just comes down to how you want to spend your money. Do you want to spend it on making sure you have the nicest facilities, or do you want to save up for to pull in the top talent and have the top coaches on your team? It's up to you. Speaking of finances, you start off the year in the hole and you work your way up. So you have your annual expenses basically on player and coach salaries and your facilities, and even the scouting report if you choose. So you start off in the hole, and then you basically make up for it by bringing in ticket sales, merchandise sales, and a bonus for making the playoffs. I think one key feature here that is missing is the ability to change ticket prices and concessions and merchandise pricing. You can't do any of that. So in future iterations, I would like to see some more involvement with this aspect of franchise mode, because it's a nice thing to track and it's fun to play with, and there isn't too much you can do to affect the budget as far as I'm aware, outside of, I'm assuming that winning brings more fans into the stadium, so therefore your ticket prices, your ticket revenue increases and your merchandise is purchased more. But other than that, there isn't really a whole lot you can control. And speaking of like future iterations, I haven't played previous versions, but it seems like franchise mode is largely the same as 2019. I heard that last year they didn't do a very good job with stat tracking, and I think they do a pretty good job this year, but I don't know why we can't, have a little bit more improvements to franchise from year to year. So I'd like to see something like this implemented in the future. A fan favorite of NFL 2K5 was the ability to schedule practice each week. How would you spend your time? 7-on-7, weightlifting? Are the quarterbacks watching film? Is someone in rehab? Are the receivers doing cone drills? Are they running routes? Are they working on the jug machine? How intense is your practice? How long is each session? Etc. Like, the list goes on. It was so in depth. So it can also be a little overwhelming, right? So Access Football also has a practice schedule that's very quick, it's easy to use, and it's not overbearing at all. And you can actually assign points to focus on various aspects of training as your focal points for the week. I like Access 20 simplified version because it adds some strategy to your weekly prep while not being overly time consuming. So I do actually enjoy this simplified version of your practice schedule. What I would like to see next, however, is being able to get a good scouting report on your next opponent from week to week, so then you can actually change your practice schedule and focus on maybe how you want to attack your opponent. So everything you want in franchise mode seems to be here. You can track league leaders and individual player career stats. They don't have, this is a big negative. I know I'm kind of encompassing everything here in the good because franchise mode overall is good. But if I was to separate this would be placed in the bad section. They don't have league history, which is a huge bummer. And I'm not really sure why, but there seems to be a lot of problems with these small sports games that forget about stats and don't include stat columns that we want to see. I don't understand this. Developers, if Super Mega Baseball 3, a big offender of this. Maximum Football, a big offender of this. Axis Football, listen, sports gamers and athletes are big stat guys. We want to see league history. We want to be able to go through the menus and see a list of the previous champions, who won last year, who's the all-time passing touchdown leader, who's in the Hall of Fame, which team has won the most championships, which receiver has the most receiving yards of all time, a top 10 list, a top 20, 50 list of the running back with the most rushing yards. Please add league history in the league and add team records in. Give us the top 20 list. I don't care, in each stat category. My quarterback can throw 450 career touchdowns. I'd like to know where he stands all time for his career, and I don't. I don't know how he compares to other players. If a player retires, their stats just disappear. And if I win 20 Super Bowls or 20 championships, there's no way for me to compare how I'm doing compared to another franchise. So yeah, that's a huge negative. I have no idea why we can't get a sports game that doesn't keep track of that stuff. It seems so intuitive, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Another positive, mods. I love the amount of options we have here with uniforms, man. Holy cow. 5 different helmet options to choose from? 6 different uniform options? What is this, NCAA Football Oregon Ducks edition? All jokes aside, I mean, finally we have the ability to create countless uniform combinations and wear different helmets and change the paint on the helmets from chrome or matte or just like your normal gloss paint. You gotta love it. NFL mods are also a thing if you're on PC, and lucky for you, you don't have to mess with a funky logo editor and attempt to be an artist. You can actually just use a JPEG image and upload them to the game source files to edit. And that's if you want to do it yourself, because Slumpdog has already got NFL mods going for Axis 20 and previous iterations of the game. Uniforms and logos are set, and he is planning on making roster updates as well as his schedule allows him to, along with some help from the community to update those rosters, including myself. I think his plan is to do roster updates every week. So even without the NFL license, the community can come together to help create an NFL experience, and with roster sharing on PC, it's easily accessible for everybody to experience. Again, not sure why more games don't do this, but I'm glad. You all right? Sorry if you guys heard that. That was my dog in the background choking on a bone, but he's all right though. If you're planning on getting the game for console, please be aware that mods will not be available to you. So if that is important for you to have NFL teams or even change uniforms of the base team, you'll want to get this game on Steam. The bad. Customization. So I put customization in the bad because you really can't do anything a whole lot within the game itself. Inside the game, you can change a player's info, his gear, and attributes, all that dope stuff that we want and need. Are you alright, dude? Sorry, guys. My dog's over here chewing on a bone, and I want to make sure he's okay. And this is a long review, and I don't feel like re-recording this. So, anyways, you can, all that dope stuff that we need, right? So on the team side, however, things get a bit tricky. You can change the number and letter font. You can change the number and letter color, helmet paint type, but that's really about it. You can't change the jersey patterns and stripes. You can't change the helmet colors. You're gonna have to mod the game, which isn't necessarily like all that easy. It requires you to open up the game source files, make RGB changes to the different uniform package. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's also way more time consuming than it should be. I'm not sure why we can't just edit uniforms in the game itself. You can't create any teams either. When you select randomize team, all it does is just randomize the roster and replace the default. So the only way to create a team is through modding, which not everybody wants to mess with. So customization needs to be a more accessible feature for the future. Gameplay, as you can see, isn't the smoothest thing around. Axis is aiming for a simulation style, but honestly it feels more arcade than anything else, and there's a ton of logic issues with the AI. However, some bugs have been fixed already, which is a good sign the devs are listening to the community and actively updating the game. For example, a huge issue I saw was when you had the ball like maybe in the red zone or at least within field goal range, under 10 seconds left in the half, no matter if you came out to run a play, the defense was coming out to field goal block and they wouldn't adjust to you, and that's actually been fixed. So that bug is fixed, so this is good. So no negatives there. There's also a patch coming out tomorrow, aka today, since I'm releasing the video tomorrow. So while you're watching this, a patch is coming out sometime today. So hopefully we'll see some more things fixed as well with that. But outside of some small bugs, there are noticeable AI issues, such as the CPU team throwing the ball into the flats. What seems like 80% of their pass plays, it's always going into the flats. Defensive line play is extremely boring. You basically just like suction cup to the offensive lineman, you can't go anywhere. It makes playing defensive line boring and useless, and then being able to control a player for pass coverage is just abysmal. Oh my god, you can't strafe. Controlling the player on defense in the open field, you don't have precise control over his movement, and it's very loose. Intercepting the ball also just seems like an impossible task, as you can repeatedly just be in the right position at the right time, but the ball's going to go through your hands or through both you and the receiver's hands for an incomplete pass. There's a serious lack of pressure on the quarterback in this game, even when you're controlling the quarterback, which makes the passing game so overpowered. I don't think I've had a game yet where I've thrown under 85% completion rate, and I don't think I've actually even seen the CPU quarterback throw under 80%. Even during a blowout, the CPU quarterback is still putting up some incredible numbers. So you can really game the system as well by rolling out of the pocket and watch the secondary unable to adjust the receivers adjusting to you rolling out of the pocket, or they don't even adjust to you potentially being a running threat. So I mean, honestly, in a way, it's kind of fun because it must be what Patrick Mahomes feels like. But even at the All-Star and Hall of Fame difficulties, I didn't find an increase in difficulty of completing passes any more than I did with Pro. I'm curious also if speed matters or not in this game. So even with an A speed running back, I find that trying to get the edge on the line of scrimmage is extremely difficult. And that's not because of great pursuit angles or, the defensive scheme is just right for that play, but it's almost like the ball carrier and the closest defender just kind of like snap to each other when in close proximity. It's really hard to see it visually. You can actually feel the ball carrier's momentum like kind of stop, and then him and the defenders kind of like snap into each other for a tackle animation. On occasion, the defender will dive out and miss, but even then, having an open field in front of you for the first down doesn't mean you're going to make it there. There are some serious adjustments to be made to the run game and AI logic, and we need to see some adjustments to the line of scrimmage for controlling defensive linemen. There are some minor bugs, like I said, here and there, but I won't mention them as there's another patch coming tomorrow, and I know that there's going to be future patches in the future. Another negative is lack of modes, and I know this sounds nitpicky since the game does have an incredibly in-depth franchise mode and it's a small team, but outside of franchise and exhibition, there's nothing else for you to do. Some small additions I would like to see, like a little wish list, and I hate making wish lists, especially this early with the game just coming out. I would like to see a practice mode, either just to practice on air or practice against the defense, run some just run some plays. I also think it'd be fun to add some drills or mini games that could be added in as well. It's not necessary, but I do think it would increase the longevity of the game by being able to switch things up a bit if you wish. So, maybe you get tired of franchise mode and, you want to go run Oklahoma drills or some passing cones and stuff like that. So it can definitely keep players in the game longer. The ugly. So nothing ugly with this game. It's a micro dev team working hard, actively being involved with the community. It definitely has its pros and cons, but I mean, nothing crazy that stands out like, oh my god, I can't believe they're doing it. It's like Madden. So yeah, I don't have anything for ugly here. The verdict. So as you all know, I rate my games on an obscure scale that doesn't really follow your standard review protocol, and I relate these ratings to real life events as best as I can. So I give Access Football 20 the Jacksonville Jaguars. Modern day Jacksonville Jaguars, because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they used to be actually a legit football team. So what I mean by this is, on the field, Jacksonville just isn't getting the job done. Sure, we have some promising young talent like Gardner Minshew. We just got that, I can't remember his name, Robinson, that rookie undrafted running back who's actually been killing it. DJ Chark. We got Laviska out of Colorado, who's a rookie receiver who's looking pretty solid. So we do some things right, but we're not putting together any wins. The logic's not there. The defensive play calling is horrible. But off the field, when you look at Jacksonville, I mean, they have swimming pools in they have 2 swimming pools in the stadium. They have 2 of the largest jumbotrons in the NFL. Well, actually, no, I think the Las Vegas Raiders just beat us out. So they have the top 2 largest jumbotrons in the NFL in their stadium. They have a great fan zone section. The owner's doing all this stuff to renovate downtown Jacksonville, make things nicer, make people want to come to the game because the areas around the stadium aren't that great. So he's been putting a lot of money into that. Well, hey, guess what? You know what's going to make people come to the game? Winning football games. That's right. We have to win. So, Axis, you're a lot like Jacksonville Jaguars in the modern day. You do a ton of great stuff off the field. But when it comes to on the field, it's not all there, and a lot of times it's kind of ugly. So, that's my correlation to this Jacksonville Jaguars. Is on the field Axis, not that great, but off the field, it's pretty damn awesome. So also, if you're sitting here and you're trying to figure out if you want to spend your $30 towards Maximum or spend your $30 towards Axis, it's one or the other, get Axis 100% all day. I actually tried to get a refund for Maximum Football because I didn't like the game that much. I know I said it, I was a little bit too kind, I think, in my review, and that's because I only had put maybe 3 or 4 hours into it. So after my review, I went back and I was like, yeah, no, this game's just, no. Get Axis Football. If you're going to buy one of them, get Axis Football. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to, to like the video if you enjoyed the review, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more content. I will be going live this evening playing some ESPN 2K5 with the updated 2020 rosters, Thursday night edition. We're going to kick this off before the real life Thursday night game kicks off. We'll be sure to wrap it up before they get started. So you guys have a good rest of your week. Peace.